Jessica Show.
Hi, welcome to Jessica. I'm your host, Jessica Rector. What would you do if a fire came into your house? Would you know how to actually escape the fire to safety? Today we're talking with my guest today about that and about the aftermath of something like that when that occurs. Please welcome my guest today, Johanna Miller. Thanks for joining. Marshall, I'm sorry, Johanna.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, you looked at me and you're like, oh, nice last name you just gave me. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I don't know where I got Miller either. Welcome anyways, way to start off the show there.
My pleasure.
So tell us a little bit about how this happened to you, this fire.
It was Memorial Day 1996, and even though I really truly don't know a lot of the events, it was under suspicious circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But what woke me up, this was about 6 a.m. in the morning, what woke me up was my fire alarm smoke detector went off. And basically opened up my door and did not see any smoke, but since the alarm went off, I decided that it was best to get out of the building. And when I turned right to walk down the corridor to go down the stairs and out the door, the hallway was filled with black smoke. And the black smoke, which I never would have even thought about, does a physical manifestation to your body, and it just slowed me down. And I basically got second and third degree burns from the heat of the walls.
Now, did you have any kind of protection on you?
I
like
was
a
just
blanket or
dressed in a sleeveless shirt, very slim pants, and that was it. But because I was exposed to the heat of the walls, which were basically like an inferno.
Oh, right. So it wasn't even the fire that got you, it was just the
I was
heat.
never actually touched by fire, but my face was burned with third degree burns, but my arms were burned to the bone strictly by being exposed to the heat of the walls.
Oh my
and my lungs had damage from smoke inhalation.
I think a lot of people don't realize how hot that actually is, just the heat from the walls.
It was extremely so, which I did not realize at first until actually walking through the hallway. I lost my footing and I got close to the wall. That's when I realized how hot it was.
Did you touch the wall?
I never touched it, but I just came like this close by losing my footing, but that's how I got burned.
Was there anybody else in the building?
There were people in the building, but to this day, I don't know how it all came about. Right. They were all outside.
Right, so they all got
They were
out.
notified that, most of the people were out front. And for whatever reason, maybe because of the situation of my apartment,
right.
I don't know, but I was the last one out.
Let's take a look at your arms just briefly so people can see like the extent of your burns on them and stuff.
The shirt I was wearing, you can see the shirt I was wearing came up to here. That's why the burn stops here. But this was all basically my arm and hands were burned to the bone.
And they did grafts.
This is a graft that they did. Yes.
Where did they take the skin from?
They took it from my head, from my legs, and my back.
Right. Now, people don't know this about me, but I'm very fascinated by, which I can't even explain the fascination, but. I would like to touch your arm if possible.
Oh, sure.
Just because I touched it before and I just think it's so smooth, and I think a lot of people don't realize how actually smooth it is. I think people have, a fear of the uncertainty, of the unknown, and so they may look and think what would people look and think that it's rough or something, but it's actually smoother than baby skin, I think. And I told people that I felt it before and how fascinated I was by it because I've never felt anything so smooth in my life.
Well, it took a lot of years to get to this point. I mean, it's now 8 years after the fire.
Right. What was it like initially?
It basically was, I really don't even have a spot. All I can show you is here is a semblance of what it originally looked like. And imagine this about 20 times worse, like fried chicken. I mean, the skin was actually upgraded on your skin as though like fried chicken. That texture, that hard, that crisp and rough.
So how
No.
does it get smooth even after 8 years? Like, what
Well, I had to
happens?
go through, I wore, there's a particular clothing called Job's clothing. That's for fire victims. And I had armbands that I had to wear constantly. And the armbands are of a material that compresses the burns. I had to wear that and a hood, actually. I look like a henchman. And I had to go to the hospital with a hood over my face, only just with the eyes and the mouth and the nose cut out. And that was all to compress the burns on my face.
And somehow that heals all the burns?
Well, so far, because I've never had any surgery on my face.
Oh, really?
The surgery was done on in between my fingers because my fingers were stitched together.
Oh.
And of course the skin grafting.
Right.
Then I had surgery because there was a piece of skin that was my arms. I couldn't extend my arms, so they had to cut the skin, so surgery was done there. My chin was pulled down so that I basically did not have any definition of a chin. And they did a triangular cut under my chin to at least stretch the skin a little bit.
Right.
And they told me when I was in the hospital, they wouldn't allow me to sleep with a pillow because when you sleep, you have a tendency to curl up and your head kind of curls under. So I had to learn how to sleep without a pillow. I had these rolls on my ears. I looked like Princess Leia from Star Wars,
Right.
to keep my ears from turning inward or losing their shape. So trying to sleep was next to impossible between these gigantic round curlers on your
Things
ears.
that we take for granted.
And,
I mean, being able to sleep on a
yeah.
pillow, nonetheless. What other kind of things did you have to adjust to?
Well, I didn't have any
Something
nerve
about a
endings.
grip, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have any nerve endings for 7 months, which was quite an experience because I couldn't pick up a phone. I couldn't pick up my cats. I was on a plane to stay with my parents to recuperate, and you know how they give you the utensils in a plastic wrapping?
Right.
They used to have to come and open up the wrapping because I couldn't pull. I couldn't pull.
Now, how
I
did
couldn't
people
hold.
deal with that when you asked them?
Most everybody was very courteous and
Okay.
gracious. There were people, I used to go to the supermarket and pull out the plastic bags for produce.
Oh, right.
And I used to ask strangers because I couldn't pull it
Grasp it,
out.
wow.
Most people they obliged, but there were some people, when they first looked at me, at that time, the burns were worse. So they looked at me and they did it, but you could tell that they were afraid because they don't know. And I can't blame
How
them.
did you deal with that when people would do that stuff to you?
I understood. I put myself in their position. I understood that it's a fear of the unknown. They don't know. With so much that's going on, on in the world today, they don't know if it was a burn, is it an illness? So they're cautious, and I understood that. I just understood that.
You, from the beginning, you understood. You didn't have any kind
Yeah,
of...
because I've never, I've never been a vindictive person.
Right.
So my main goal at that time was just trying to survive. So
Did you ever go through the what if stages or why me or...
I did in the very, very beginning, when there were times when I was just, so many things were so hard to do. I have to be honest and say, yeah, I was questioning
that's
why
only
did this
natural,
happen to me,
right.
and I was angry, but then you know what? You reach a point where that's taking away from my recovery. And I thought, for whatever reason, turn it around. I've always had a belief system, whatever is negative in your life, turn it around to something positive.
Right. Didn't you also have to get creative in the shower? Like
Oh,
find
yeah.
ways to...
Oh, yeah.